We have the first question comes from the line of Randy Abrams from Credit Suisse. Please ask a question.
Okay, yes, thank you. I wanted to ask the first question on the outlook for third quarter for the $238 million. Could you maybe talk about the growth areas, if you think from the similar areas that have been driving the business, so the discretes, MCU, and recovery from the analog, or if you expect some recovery from the embedded flash and smart cards?
Randy, I think, we had a very strong quarter in my view. Q2, I think, in terms of revenue, I think, not only we hit the target, it has been a strong quarter for us. I think in terms of growth, I think we're probably amongst one of the top one of the top companies. Okay, first let me just say that. In terms of Q3, I think some of the strong areas will be MCU. MCU would definitely recover. Okay, I think Q2 has been a slow quarter for MCU, but MCU would definitely a strong driver for Q3. I think discrete will continue to grow. Super junction, IC super junction, IGBT, SGT, and the general MOSFET. Okay, when I say SGT, it's the split gate tranche MOSFET. So we see strong growth for that for these areas as well. Okay, I think smart cards is going to be weak for Q3, but the increase will mostly coming from MCU and discrete.
Okay, and maybe to follow up on the new fab, I think was originally targeted to be the more advanced smart card MCU. I think now, since we're going through the slowdown, as you start up the new fab, would it still be those areas, or are you starting to consider a different product mix for the new capacity?
Well, initially, the new capacity will still be for the SIM cards and bank card ICs. Okay, so definitely the reason we have not been taking that much demand from bank cards and SIM cards because they're not most desirable in terms of price. But I think the 12-inch fab will open the opportunity for both the design house as well as for the foundry, us. I think by moving them to the next technology nodes, for example, 90 nanometer or 55 nanometer, in fact, it's going to have better efficiencies. We're going to have more dies on a wafer. So I think we definitely, yes, the question is yes, it will still be, initially will be for smart card ICs, in particular SIM cards and bank cards. Okay, but eventually, yes, we also plan to have the new fab. We also have a plan for example, discretes as well.
Okay. Oh, so the new fab for discrete. So if I guess the ASP is usually lower on discrete. So if you do discretes, I guess maybe it's a two-part question, but how you see the profitability if discretes were to go in, and from the new fab initially, because you'll get some offsets or some grants to support the initial ramp up. From a corporate gross margin as we go into next year, is it kind of the target to kind of or reasonable to kind of keep these above 30% range, or is it realistic also to have a bit of dilution during the initial phase?
Well, I don't expect the depreciation expense impact will be huge initially. I mean, especially this year. Okay, we're definitely going to make sure it be minimized. Okay, but the ramp up will start in Q4. Okay, we will have some depreciation expenses. It's not going to be much. It'll be minimal. Initially, it will be just it'd be try production basically, but we still plan to have some revenue from the Wuxi fab. That is our target, and we will make sure we're going to have some revenue. We're going to have some shipment from that fab this year. Once it starts, it's not going to stop. But in terms of the depreciation expense, it'll be minimized. So I don't think it'll have major impact on the gross margin.
Okay, I guess I was thinking more, just into next year, like as you start to bring on more depreciation, but you'll also be bringing up more output. So if you can keep the 10K reasonably utilized or ramp that, like if you see kind of still ability to achieve the type of margins, or at least close to those margins above 30%.
Well, the plan is we're going to have 10K this year. We will immediately start to procure equipment for the next phase, which is mostly going to be for power discrete because they have huge demand. We have huge demand for power discrete, in particular IGBT and superjunction. You have to realize that discrete actually absolutely has the best margin now at this point. Okay, overall their ASP per wafer is lower than, for example, MCUs and smart cards, but they also have less layers. Okay, but once you get into the high end, the IGBT and superjunction, you have to realize, nowadays for the discrete, we're running more than 40% gross margin on 8-inch fab. So yeah, there'll be some depreciations. The depreciation for the next 2 years, we said earlier, are going to be very, very critical for us. Okay, it's mostly going to be we have to reach the break-even point. That is going to happen in the next 2 years. So whatever capacity we're going to build, we have to make sure we're going to fill it right away. Okay, we don't expect, we still have a strong demand. Okay, in particular the discrete, and we can fill more the smart cards, and we also try to get into the MCU segment as well in the other regions.
Okay, and the last question I just wanted to ask on for this year, if you still think target to grow for 2019, and the second part is just for the OpEx, if you can cover the new fab with the similar OpEx base, or we should expect some increase in the OpEx as well to bring up the new fab.
Well, as far as the growth for 2019, Mr. Tan just said earlier, we're going to have a better second half. We expect we're going to have a better second half than the first half. Our number has already shown that because, our first half was virtually $450.8 million. Okay, so our Q3 definitely is going to be better than Q2. We expect we're going to have a stronger second half. We would like to see some growth for this year compared to a year ago. Okay, overall, this has not been a very good environment. I think the semiconductor industry went through a slowdown. And as Mr. Tan said earlier, our utilization rate has already gone beyond 90% point overall. Okay, and we want to continue to, move that number up, hopefully get to a full level. Okay, but it's not going to be too far from that. So we expect we're going to fill the fab for the next 2 quarters. We do everything we can to make sure that the utilization is up, and we're going to hopefully so that the gross margin will be better. And your second question is about the depreciation.
The operating expense. The operating expense.
Yeah. Well, see, the operating expenses will go up slightly. Okay, in particular for Wuxi. Okay, but Wuxi, I think for the year we're not going to have overall. I think we're going close to a break-even point for Wuxi. The operating expenses will slightly go up because of Wuxi, because we have additional personnel. But overall, I think she will overall close to break even. I mean, at the P&L level. If it's anything, there would be it'd be a small negative number for the profit and loss at the net profit. At the net profit level, and which is also generating a lot of other income because of the through the investment that we made through the by investing in financial products.
Okay, great. No, thanks a lot, Daniel.
Thank you. The next question comes from the line of Siho Ng from China Renaissance. Please ask a question.
Hi, Daniel. Two questions from my side. So first one also regarding the JV fab. I think in the press release you mentioned the fab will be starting risk production in Q4. So when should we expect the revenue contribution? Is it in the same quarter you mentioned earlier on the call?
Yeah. We expect we're going to have some revenue from the Wuxi fab this year.
Oh, okay. So that's great. Okay.
We have some shipments. Internally, we have a target, and that is a hard target we set in the beginning of the year, and we want to make sure we deliver, and there's demand for it. Right now, there are about 5 products that is going through let's say, try production.
Okay, good. And then when I look at the 8-inch install capacity, it was kind of flat in Q2. Should we expect some capacity still towards the end of the year in your 8-inch fab?
Yes. In fact, you know what? I will let Mr. Tan answer that question. The answer is definitely positive.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Oh, 感谢您的提问。
这个
无锡工厂呢，目前的建设进度呢非常之快。我们今年6月份实现了首批3台光刻机的模物印，整个第一阶段的设备呢97%已经全部搬入了。那么工艺串线的设备目前已经打通，整个工艺串线的完成率接近了70%。那么因此讲，在今年年底呢，我们会有6000片的出货。
We have moved 3 scanners in June and completed almost 97% tours for the first stage. And for the overall process tours, we almost complete over 30%. So the 12-inch fab in Wuxi is moving very fast according to our previous plan.
Siho, you have more questions?
Oh, yeah, and the last one from my side. Yeah, when I look at the non-operating line, the fair value gain on financial assets seems to be running at a pretty high level. So just want to tap your brain on how we should model that line going forward.
Well, for the equity money we received from the investors, we actually put that money into a secured financial products in the Chinese banks. Okay, I mean, so for the year, I mean, we're looking at close to close to $40 million overall. Just the gain from the investment as well as the interest income. I think the interest income is probably around $10 to $15 million. I think the gain from the financial investment in the financial products, it is about close to $40 million. Okay, so I mean, but these money will be used in the next 6 to 12 months, it did gradually come down, okay? But, at this point, we still have over $1 billion, basically. They deposit either in a U.S. dollar account, or they invest in some secured financial products.
Yeah.
The gains, the interest rate, it is about, we're talking about close to 4%, so which is a very good investment.
Right. I know. Yeah. But how about the fair value gain? Would that be unwind when you exit those financial products?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. Got you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question comes from the line of Sunny Lin from UBS. Please ask a question.
Hi, Chang Zong. Daniel, hi. Thank you for taking my questions. Yeah, so I have a few questions. So number one is on the inventories. I think in this earnings season, your peer in Taiwan and also a few 8-inch IDMs in Europe are all guiding a slower than expected inventory digestion for 8-inch, especially in automotive and industrial related. So I'm just wondering, what's your view on the inventory level for your customers versus seasonal as of Q2, and when it will be returned to normal, and specifically what kind of products are with higher inventory?
Sunny, honestly, this is the same question we got from the last earnings call. Basically, other than a few things, for example, SIM cards and bank cards, okay, we see some inventories before. Maybe there's still some inventories now. Most of our other products we don't see any inventories, okay? So the SIM cards and the bank cards, yes, okay. But other than that, our customers are, I think their inventories are pretty normal.
I see. So my second question is regarding competition for power discrete. I think there's more players investing into 8-inch power discrete given the strong outlook for next few years, including foundries in Taiwan and also Korea. So I wonder, within Hua Hong's power discrete business, what's the sales split between IDM and fabless? And how do you see the intensifying competition impact your outlook for next maybe 1 to 2 years?
We're very confident with the power discrete. We have been doing this for so many years where, up to this point, we're probably the largest foundry for power discrete. We start with the general, the universal MOSFET, which is the low voltage ones from 0 to 60 volt. And then we've been aggressively going after the IGBT and super junction for the past 3-4 years. And we have gained very good market. In particular, we're gaining basically we're winning a lot of design houses. Okay, they basically replacing a lot of imports. Okay, and Mr. Tan has already said we have a plan for discrete for our 12-inch fab, which is going to be pretty much the high-end ones. For example, the IGBT and super junction. Okay, so we're very much ahead in China amongst our peers. Okay, I think globally, yes, there are some top players, but I think we're pretty confident we'll continue to gain market share, and I think we'll continue to move into more advanced discrete. That is something we will do, in particular for automotive, for industrial. Industrial and automotive has become the second largest market now, other than consumer electronics. because of power discrete. I mean, we understand this is a very attractive area. There are a lot of, peers are trying to who are trying to get into that area. But you know what? We're ahead of them. We continue to, speed ahead of, continue our effort in R&D, and that is something we're going to do. I'm going to pass on to Mr. Tan. I think he's been actually spending a lot of time on that in the area recently because of the 12-inch fab.
目前呢，我们华虹红利呢，在 Power Discrete 方面，在 DMOS、Super Junction、IGBT 方面呢，我们投入了大量的资源在进行新技术的研发。那么同时呢，我们在12英寸方面呢，也进行了大量的投资。那么预计在明年下半年会有一些大的增长。那么我们在跟国内的客户、日本的客户，包括欧洲的客户做了广泛的交流，为整个技术的发展呢做了一个很好的铺垫。
We put in many resources into the new technology development, power discrete DMOS, super junction, and IGBT. We also do many new technology development in the 12-inch fab, and we expect there will be a big growth in the second half of 2020. And we also communicate a lot with our domestic customers and Japan customers and the European customers.
I see. That's very helpful. So I just want to clarify. So you said for your second phase expansion for your 12-inch fab, it will be for high-end MOSFET. And I think my understanding is that for power discrete, the capacity on a comparable basis should be higher than like the normal MCU product or the normal logic product because power has a fewer masks. So let's say if your Wuxi fab has 40K plant capacity, if now we are bringing in some power discrete product, what might be the total capacity?
我们整个无锡的工厂呢，它的发展还是基于两个方面，一个就是 IC， 另外一个呢就是 Power Discrete。
Our Wuxi fab's development is basically based on two aspects. First is IC and the second is power.
目前呢，我们整个市场销售研发团队呢，正在花大量的力气在努力的进行攻关。
And our sales and marketing team and the TD team are working very closely on those areas.
我们预计呢，一定会有一个好的结果。
And we are very confident there will be a good result.
Sunny, I think, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, you can basically have, 10K capacity of, MCU, but literally you can potentially build close to 20, 30K of discrete. That is correct. The equipment setup might be a little bit different, but in terms of the investment, yes, with 10K, the regular MCU investment, you can potentially build 20, 30K of power discrete. That is positive.
I see. Thank you very much. So at this point, do we have initial allocation between like MCU and power for this new fab?
We're going to be doing maybe half and half. Initially we talked about 40K. It could be eventually be 20K of ICs, and then the other 20K could be equivalent to 60K of 60K for power discrete.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much, Tang Zong and Daniel. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have the next question comes from the line of Andrew Lu, Sinolink Securities. Please ask a question.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Andrew.
Tang Zong and Daniel, two questions from me. For this year, is that CapEx roughly about 700 to 800 million?
Yes, that is positive. It's for the Wuxi fab. I mean, for our Wuxi fab, it's going to be roughly the PR and PO is about 700 to 800 million dollars. This is a year for pretty high investment for Wuxi. And then for our Shanghai fab, it's going to be about 100. The most would be 150 million dollars. Most of that capacity, the 6 to 8,000 wafer capacity is going to come out in the next 2 quarters, in Q3 and Q4, for our Fab 3 for the 8-inch business, for power discrete. But yes, Wuxi, we're going to, as I said, I think that the first 10K is all done. We're moving into the next phase, which is going to be mostly for the power discrete.
Yeah, but based on my calculation, your cash flow for this year, cash inflow roughly about 300 to 400 million. So that's 300 million miss. Where are the money coming from?
For the investment?
Yes, the investment is cash outflow. The cash inflow we calculate roughly about 300, 400 million, 300 million lower than your CapEx.
Well, Andrew, for the Wuxi fab, I think if you're familiar with our Wuxi financing structure, it is $2.5 billion investment. Let me say that again. It's $2.5 billion investment. $1.8 billion is on the equity, okay? And then $700 million is going to be a loan. We're still spending money from that equity money from the 3 investors, which is us, we own 51%, and the IC Fund, they own 29%, and the local government, they own 20%. So all of this together, we contribute $1.8 billion. We own 51% of that, okay? And then the Wuxi government owns 20%, and then the IC Fund would be 29%. So it's we have gotten all that money. The money is in the bank, okay, in our bank accounts, and we still haven't spent all of that money. Only a small portion of that. Most of the equity money has been, invested in some bank products, secured bank products.
Thank you, Daniel. Second question I have is a depreciation cost.
Yep.
In the last conference call, you mentioned the depreciation cost in Q4 will be jumped to about $50 million. But in earlier, you say the depreciation cost in Q4 might not be increased that much. So you say try to minimize. So I want to understand, is that change?
Yeah, I mean, look, overall, okay, as I said, the depreciation expenses for this year, I expect it's going to be, for the overall, for the 8-inch fab, it's going to be overall around, the depreciation is about 128, I mean, it's going to be less than $130 million, okay? This is the 8-inch fab. And then the Wuxi, the new fab, the 12-inch fab, Wuxi fab, yes, there will be some depreciation expenses, okay, but it'll be very small. It'll be just land and building, okay? Maybe just small portion of the equipment, very small portion, okay? So overall, the depreciation expenses for Wuxi is going to be maybe around $10 to $15 million, okay, overall.
Yeah, we have about 30-something in the first quarter as a depreciation. second quarter 30-something, 33, 32. In Q3, if we assume 35, then roughly about 40, 50 million in Q4.
I think for Q3 it would be less than that. It'd be, it's going to be running at the same level as Q2. Q4, yeah, I mean, as I said,
Q2 will be similar level like Q2.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's right.
That's roughly about 100 million. Then you have a 130 plus about 145 something.
That would be,
So Q4 is about 45 million.
Yeah, that would be 140 to 145. That would be good estimate.
Yeah,
but you know what?
To my final question, yes.
But we're very careful with these depreciation expenses. Okay, depending on the basically. Initially it's going to be this year. Well, I'll start in Q4, but it will be mostly land and building, a little bit equipment. Okay, but next year really have a true ramp up. That would be something very. We have to, at that point, we expect the volume will also start to ramp up.
Yeah, Daniel, if I use 45 million in Q4, that's roughly taking about 8 to 9% of revenue. 8 to 9% cost of goods sold. So if we are just putting into that number, additional cost will take out about 8 to 9% margin. So as an analyst, should we factor in 8 to 9% margin drop in Q4? That's my question.
I would say it's not going to be that much, but there'll be some impact starting Q4, and it's going to start some point. We cannot hide the depreciation expenses, okay? But we also expect, starting from Q4, revenue should also start to go up as well, huh? Because we certainly expect there'll be some revenue in Q4 from that. We're starting with the Wuxi fab, okay? You have to realize that the 12-inch fab for us, it's just going to be ramp up. We're not going to have that fab as an R&D fab. We're going to start, starting from Q4, we're going to just make sure whatever capacity we can build, we're going to start, use it, okay? So it is much better scenario than any of the other 12-inch fabs that you have seen in the past. But that is the thing we have to do. I mean, in the next 2 years.
As an analyst, how do we estimate the Q4 gross margin will be from Q3 31%?
Well, I think you would get
about 28. Do you think that number is reasonable, reachable, or
what?
It's too high? Gross margin.
For this year?
Gross margin. Yes, Bloomberg consensus for Q4 is 28%.
Well, I think you have a better picture when we at our next conference, earnings call. I mean, I think it's a good number to assume, okay? I think we still want to have a good gross margin, solid gross margin for the year, okay? But, the reality is we're going to have a new fab. Next 2 years, we will be hit with some depreciation expenses. But, it's a possibility to grow. So as long as we deliver, as long as it's in your model, we still want to make sure we have good profits for the next 2 years.
Thank you, Daniel.
Ladies and gentlemen,